Sexual assault awareness, although a well-known topic, is not very well understood, especially on college campuses. On average, 1 in 10 undergraduate females and 1 in 15 undergraduate males are sexually victimized each academic year. If those numbers hold true on the campus of Ball State University, that equals 1,200 females and 604 males who are victims of sexual assault each year. As of the fall of 2014, Ball State University requires their freshmen and new transfer students to participate in Campus Clarity's interactive learning tool called Think About It. The program is designed to teach students about the dangers of the college party scene. I turned to the students of Ball State University to learn how much they really know about sexual assault and the rape culture on their very own university's campus.
Okay. So how much do you know about sexual assault?
I wouldn't say I'm the most educated on it, but it's something that I have been trained on and educated through various classes, so like in the middle, I guess, of the spectrum of knowledge.
How much do I think I know? In my personal opinion, I feel like I know enough to be safe for my own personal well-being.
I think I've been educated well, but I don't think I know everything.
What is sexual assault?
Sexual assault to me is where someone goes too far with someone else with that person's consent.
Assault someone sexually, but someone who's underage, legal age, or without consent.
Unwanted sexual advances, and it can be anything. It doesn't necessarily. I think the spectrum of sexual assault, at least law-wise, covers anything from attempted sexual assault to like actual penetration or whatever.
Okay, so then what is rape? Do you know the difference?
Oh, did you ask me what is sexual assault and rape? Oh, is rape with a minor?
Is it?
That'll be my answer because I don't
Okay.
really know.
What is consent?
Consent is a verbal yes.
Consent is when you're not under the influence and that you say yes. And consent can be removed at any time.
The ability to consciously say yes to something.
To allow such actions while not under the influence.
And then what isn't consent?
If someone said yes earlier, that doesn't mean that they still want it, and just because they were flirting with you doesn't mean they want it. I think it has to be like an actual yes, I want to have sex with you.
Not permission. I mean, it's either giving permission for sexual activity when you're in a terrible mental state, or it's just plain straight up not giving permission to condone any sexual activity.
Can you describe a circumstance where one person thinks they are not consenting and the other person thinks they are?
Well, I think probably if a guy meets a girl at a bar or something, she's wants to go home with him, but maybe she doesn't necessarily want to have sex with him, or she did at the time and she doesn't want any more. So I think that's probably pretty common.
One man, one woman, they're a couple. The man is drinking, both of them are drinking, and the man takes the woman by the hand and they go upstairs. That's not giving consent.
Does it matter if you know the attacker or if they're a stranger?
I think so, yes, because if you know the attacker or the stranger, then you can report it and get that person in jail or something so they won't go and attack other people.
Does it matter if you know the attacker or if they're a stranger?
It matters in sentencing, I'd say, like in trial.
No.
No.
Does gender matter?
No.
Does gender matter?
Yes.
No.
No, not whatsoever.
I don't think gender matters. I mean, as long as you report the attack and then get the attacker off the streets or whatever.
What role do drugs and alcohol have on sexual assault and rape?
Drugs and alcohol will distort the mind, for lack of a better word, so people will not make the decisions that they normally would.
Well, they obviously decrease your decision-making abilities, and
People take advantage of alcohol and drugs to try and enforce themselves onto other people and try and get consent when they should be asking the other person.
What role do drugs and alcohol have on reporting an incident?
A lot of people think that since they were drunk or since they were high or something, especially if they're underage and they were drinking, that they don't really have a case anymore because they were doing something illegal or because they said yes because they were drunk.
Like for example, the victim could be under the influence of alcohol, like a heavy influence of alcohol, and then the next day they won't really remember what happened, so that could be a case where they don't report it.
Probably a large amount. It's more accepted if a girl goes and says that they've had something done to them, but if a guy goes and says it, no one believes it.
What role does peer pressure play in deciding whether or not to report assault?
I think peer pressure plays a really huge part, especially, I don't know if you've ever heard of the cases, but there were a couple high school football players that raped a girl and recorded it and put it on the internet, and people didn't want her to report it because they were star athletes for that area, and they were going on to college and they were going to represent that city well. And so a lot of people try to use peer pressure against that girl to keep her from ruining the lives of the two guys that basically ruined her life.
Do you know how to detect if something like this happens to you?
Yes, I do.
Probably just knowing if it's something that you wanted or not, and just being able to make that decision.
Do you know how to detect if something like this happens to you, whether you wake up in a stranger's bed or because it was someone you knew or a partner, you weren't quite sure if it was rape or sexual assault or just another
I don't know
encounter?
unless somebody tells me this happened.
Not if I'm under the influence of something.
Do you know if and when reporting sexual assault or rape is appropriate?
To report it?
When is it appropriate?
All the time.
If it happened, it's appropriate. Obviously sooner better than later, but if it happened, and you should report it.
Yeah, no more than 24 to 48 hours.
Do you know someone who has experienced sexual assault or rape?
I do.
Yes.
Do you know someone in college who has experienced sexual assault or rape?
I do.
Yes.
I'm not sure.
I don't know them. I've heard cases of people that I've lived with.
Yes.
No, I do not.
Yes.
No.
No. No.
Yes. Yes.
Do you know what environment most sexual assaults on a college campus take place?
Dorms, probably.
I would imagine it parties or, like frat houses and
Parties?
I guess either dorms or parties.
Is there a general attitude among the students at Ball State about the quality of sexual assault prevention programs?
There are a lot of programs, but I think they could be more spread out.
I think they disregard it.
I don't think so. I think a lot of people don't really know how rape cases are handled. And that's probably another reason why a lot of people don't come forward about rape incidents.
Yeah, not like you said, like not a lot of people know about it because they either were not informed as a young child or in school, so they don't really know how to go about it.
I know there are programs like self-defense programs, and there's usually, I'm pretty sure this semester all of the residence halls are required to have some form of programming on sexual assault.
They have programs like Elemental, which teaches you how to stop, but not very many people do that, nor recognize that's a program available for free to them.
I mean, I know there's things like the Pure Health Advocates and Victim Advocates, and the Health Center has the Women's Center specifically, like you can contact for things like that. I don't know what else specifically. There's the Blue Lights on campus. I don't know if that's considered a program, but...
Are these programs effective?
I'm going to go ahead and say no, just because they're just posters, not actual people monitoring this stuff, and they still allow parties with underage drinking to occur, so I don't see why that would prevent anything.
From the one example I've seen, yes.
Yes and no.
Do you know how safe the Ball State campus really is?
I feel like it's safe as a woman, but I don't know exactly.
Generally, yes.
I think it is safe, but I don't know how safe it is.
Do you know the number for UPD or the Muncie City Police?
I do not by heart.
Are you sure?
911.
Yes.
No.
And do you know the number for UPD or Muncie City Police?
Yes, in emergencies you can call 911. Otherwise, the UPD number is 765-285-1111.
As it stands, Ball State students are fairly educated about sexual assault. But as many of the interviewees said, their school is lacking in providing adequate information about protection against sexual victimization. Even more so, the resources that are currently available are not well known by the general student body. When digging a little deeper into some of the more focused questions, most students were misguided when asked to define consent. The common answer was that if alcohol is present, there is no consent. The true definition of the word consent, however, is permission for something to happen or agreement to do something. So, in order for consent to be present, both or all parties involved have to say yes. 70% of students admitted to partaking in sexual activity while under the influence of alcohol or drugs that they would have not if they were sober. Most students would agree that the most common place for sexual assault to take place on a college campus would be at parties, when in fact 76% of all college sexual assaults take place in the dorms. Although these students aren't entirely misguided. Most sexual assaults do occur on weekends, where as little as 1 in 4 women experience rape at these weekend parties. Almost everyone agreed that Ball State is a pretty safe place, and while this film is not meant to diminish the university's reputation, rather than to inform students about the dangers that are present on all college campuses across the United States, facts are still facts. In November of 2013, Business Insider published a list of the 25 most dangerous college campuses in the nation. Ball State ranks 11 on that list. The factor that puts Ball State up so high on that list is their reported violent crime rate of 19 violent crimes per year, 11 of which are forcible rape. Of course, in an emergency situation, the first number to call is always 911. So get educated, Ball State. And no matter what, remember, no means no.